blind, have low vision, or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Fran McNamara, and for the next hour I'll be reading from the February 27th to March 5th, 2026 issue of Buffalo Business First right here on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. And I must say it's a very exciting cover picture, full color, and it's Buffalo Place in downtown Buffalo. And at the bottom of the picture, we have two of our Metro subway cars bordering Buffalo Place as they go by, obviously. And the picture is framed in the back by two buildings in an L-shaped type of setup. But what's really unique is there's all kinds of brightly colored people with tents, a bandstand over near the Buffalo Fountain Plaza building. And my gosh, looks like Buffalo's alive. And you know, it says, special report, Buffalo unlocked. Can play save the day. With fewer workers downtown, events and entertainment can help bring renewed energy to the city's core. And this will be an article by Jacob Tierney, and it's on page 8. But again, it's really a change of pace cover. I haven't seen this type of large photograph in a few months anyways. And it really shows downtown alive with people. Now, I grew up in the South Buffalo, so we always called it Uptown. But anyways, I digress. They also mention here on the front page, on page 4, another Jacob Tierney article, Town Vote Halts Contested Project. Lancaster officials expect legal reaction to moratorium on new development. And that'll be on page 4. And then Lee and Bunny will be giving us the story from retail. Former mall faces foreclosure. Lender says conditions of a $1.52 million mortgage have not been met. Okay, and that's Lee and Bunny on page 5. So now we move to page 2, first things first. And this is an article by Tracy Drury. There's a gentleman standing there with a sheepish grin on his face. I call this business casual. He kind of like has a dark brown suit, but then a almost toffee-colored striped shirt, and again, a sheepish grin. And this is Jonathan Dandes, D-A-N-D-E-S, civic leader and Rich Products executive. Oh, and I'm sorry to say, he's dead. So Jonathan Dandes, civic leader and Rich Products executive, dies. Okay, so this is Tracy Drury telling us the death of Rich Products Core executive Jonathan Dandes will have a major impact on some of the region's most visible cultural institutions. Though he died February 22nd after a lengthy illness, he spent his days working as a corporate vice president at Rich Products, and he was just as dedicated to Western New York nonprofit world, among others. A native of Queens, he got his first taste of public service as president of the Student Association at UB. That's where he met Rich Products founder Bob Rich Sr., who was then president of the UB Council. He joined the UB Council himself in 1994 and remained its longest-serving member under 5 UB presidents, while twice serving as president of the UB Alumni Association. He also taught at Niagara University, as an adjunct professor in the Sports Management Program and the College of Hospitality and Tourism Management. After receiving a kidney transplant in 2007 at ECMC, he went on to chair both the ECMC Corporation Board of Directors and the ECMC Foundation. His resume with local organizations where he often served as board chair has included Shays Performing Arts Center, Art Park, the Buffalo Zoo, Explore and More, the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Children's Museum, and the Miracle League of Western New York. He was dedicated to identifying leaders that would move the needle, having chaired searches for new leaders at Shays, Art Park, and the zoo. He was also part of the search committee recently appointed to identify a new president at UB. That's in addition to board appointments with the Buffalo Niagara Partnership, the New York State Restaurant Association, and the Community Action Organization of Western New York. In a 2021 interview with Buffalo Business First, he said he was picky about which organizations he served, first examining its mission, how sustainable it was, and whether it was viable in achieving what it's supposed to be doing. And here's a great quote from Richard. I just think there's a lot of work to be done, and there's some great people and some great organizations doing that work. So to whatever degree I can be helpful, that's been my mantra. And he adds, how could you not want to be helpful? I'm fortunate. Words to live by. Okay, now the article continues. Dundas joined Rich Products in 1986, starting in the food services division, then moving up to director of restaurant operations, before being promoted to vice president and GM of stadium services in 1988, and to the EVP of the Rich Entertainment Program in 1996. He oversaw the company's operations at Canalside Buffalo and the Outer Harbor Management Group, and served as president of Rich Baseball Operations, overseeing Buffalo Bison's baseball, as well as operations in Arkansas, Jamestown, and the Palm Beach National Golf and Country Club in Lake Worth, Florida, leading to his 2024 induction into the Buffalo Baseball Hall of Fame. He told Business First he considered himself fortunate to play a role in the region's resurgence. And here's a final quote from this very, I would say, remarkable man. What I have been lucky enough to see over the years is this tremendous evolution of Western New York and Buffalo, where all of a sudden people are now coming here to live. It's to the point where Buffalo's cool. Okay, well, that's the end of page 2, and of course that was written by Tracy Drury, and a really great article showing us the value and true worth of Jonathan Dundas, Senior Vice President, Rich Products, and ECMC Board Chair. Okay, on page 3 we have a familiar feature for our frequent listeners, Power People. And here's a little background about the Power People feature. It says, Buffalo Business First publishes 3 annual Power Lists, the Power 250, the Power 200, Women, and Power 100 Business Leaders of Color, featuring the top business leaders in Western New York. Each week, we will tell you about an executive on those lists. And this week, it's Joyce Markowitz, or some of my friends have told me it could also be Joyce Markevich, CEO of Catholic Health. And her Power 250 2025 rank is 7. Her Power 200 Women rank is 2. So she's up there in the stratosphere for those lists. Okay, now Tracy Drury's the one who's going to give us a little background on Joyce, and also present her with some questions for discussion. And there's a nice picture of her here. A big smile, of course, business suit, white sweater underneath, gold chain, a very pretty smile, blondish hair, and she's holding on to a railing. I'm sure it's indoors at one of our hospital walkways or corridors. Okay, so Tracy writes, Joyce Markowitz may now be one of the most powerful female executives in Buffalo, but the CEO of Catholic Health got her start as a brand names catalog at a brand names catalog company store. Wow. Growing up in a large family with 5 siblings, helmed by a steelworker patriarch, she learned the importance of hard work. Her parents also made sure she knew there were no limits on what she could achieve. Today, she leads the Buffalo region's 2nd largest health system ending 2024 with revenue of $1.65 billion, including a $90 million surplus that led to ratings boosts from 2 national agencies. So, Tracy asks, what was the most pivotal moment in your life? And Joyce answers, college. I'm one of 6 children, and all 3 of my brothers went to college, and both sisters married early and had families. I watched such a difference between what their choices were in life and what was available to them versus what my brothers were. I always wanted to be able to care for myself and any children that I would ever have. Independence was really very important to me. So then Tracy asks, was being a CEO ever a goal? And Joyce says, no, never. I always wanted to be a doctor, but I wasn't so great in I wasn't so great in chemistry, and I knew that what I was going to struggle with chemistry, so I ended up going to nursing school. One of the things I've always done in life is when an opportunity presents itself, I look at it and I explore it. So Tracy asks, what's a lesson you learned from a mistake? Well, holding on to an individual or employee because of the amount of knowledge that person had, even though that person was toxic to the work environment. I learned that early on in a management role. Next topic of discussion, what is your ultimate career goal? Well, Joyce says, I want to leave Catholic Health better than when I found it. We've been through a lot. Some of the greatness of the organization became diminished from everything that we went through, whether it was the pandemic, the strike, the financial pressures. My ultimate goal is for that joy to be back in this organization. Okay, Tracy next asks, what is your favorite thing to do in Buffalo? And Joyce responds, well, I'd like to get up on Saturday morning with my husband and go to the Elm Street Bakery and have breakfast at the counter with him and a big old cup of tea and watch all the people. So then Tracy says, if you had to choose a different career, what would you pick and why? And Joyce says, well, probably something to do with dogs. I love animals. We have one now, a golden retriever, Jost. It's always rescues. It's Josie. Okay. So she said, probably something to do with dogs. I like animals. I love animals. We have one now, a golden retriever, Josie. It's always rescues. And so Tracy asks, what is the one thing you look for when hiring someone? Joyce responds, work ethic. I think I've been fooled at times. I looked at the person with the fanciest resume and work credentials only to learn they didn't like to work. And then I've taken a chance on others that were hardworking, had strong work ethics, and they learned. So then Tracy asks Joyce, how would you define yourself as a boss? And Joyce says, well, I would hope people see me as someone that allows them to do their job, the job that they were hired and are paid to do. So I try to be informed, but to let people do the work that they were hired to do. I am not a micromanager. And the final question put to Joyce by Tracy Drury was, so what's next on your travel list? She says, well, my family's a big Disney family and I am not. I go along reluctantly, and so they're talking about the next Disney trip, and I have dug in my heels and said, I will only go to Disney if we do it in Paris. Oh my. So that's what I'm hoping is my next trip, a Disney trip to Paris. So that's Tracy Drury questioning Joyce Markowitz, CEO at Catholic Health. And that's the end of page 3. But before we continue, I got this reminder here. We could all recite it together, I bet. But anyways, you're listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First. And where's that, kids? On the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. There you go. I heard every one of you. Okay. So now we go to page 4. And this is commercial real estate. And Jacob Tierney has 3 articles on here. So we're just going to go left to right on here. The first is Niagara County. Nursing homes sell for a combined $27 million. 2 Niagara County nursing homes have been sold for a combined $27 million. 2 LLCs registered to the same Rochester address purchased Newfane Rehab and Care Center at 2709 Transit Road for $18.4 million, and Lockport Rehab and Health Care Center at 909 Lincoln Avenue for $8.96 million, according to documents filed with the Niagara County Clerk's Office. The buyer is registered to the address of Rochester-based Caretree Health. Caretree could not be reached, and representatives for the 2 Niagara County homes declined to comment. The seller in both transactions was a group of investors led by Nissan Hirsch, who has an ownership stake in numerous nursing homes throughout the Northeast. The other sellers are Yisroel Bornstein, Henry Steinmetz, Norfalti Minzer, and Yakov Whiteman, according to state and county records. Newfane Rehab and Healthcare Center previously was operated by Eastern Niagara Hospital, which sold to an investment group in 2015 in a $7 million deal. The same investment group in 2015 also acquired the Lockport property, then called Brody Healthcare Facility. That facility has since been renamed Lockport Rehab and Healthcare Center. Okay, so that's it for the first article from Niagara County on the 2 nursing homes sold for a combined $27 million. So next we have one. There's a picture of this here. It's a Rochester hospitality franchise wants to build a Wood Spring Suites in Lancaster. And there's a picture. This is a 4-floor, it's just the main building of the suites. There's a carport type of entrance in the center on the first floor. And the center section appears to have some type, and of course this is an artist rendering, has a certain type of either reddish brown or stone or actual wood stone, and of course the logo Wood Spring Suites. And then on either side you have dark green and white. Dark green for the 3 floors, 1, 2, and 3, and white on the top. But the artist rendering just doesn't give me much perspective, but I'm sure the article will. To Lancaster, the town expects legal action from Rochester developer of Maple Drive project. The Lancaster Town Board has put a halt to a proposed hotel project, at least for now, after passing a new development moratorium. Now town officials are bracing for a lawsuit from the developer. And now, Town Clerk and Deputy Supervisor Diane Terranova told Business First, "I'm sure they're going to put in a lawsuit. The town attorney is going to take a look at that." Close quote. The board, on February 17th, unanimously voted to impose a moratorium on new development in Lancaster's 2 historic hamlet areas. Specifically, Bowmansville and a portion of Town Line, which overlaps Lancaster and Alden. Rochester developer Indus Hospitality Group first proposed the 122-room Wood Spring Suites extended stay hotel at 145 Maple Drive more than a year ago. It's gone through the town zoning and planning process and only needed final approval from the town board. Now, the town moratorium states that the town zoning regulations, which were overhauled and finalized in 2025, do not adequately address development impacts related to historic resources, hamlet character, scale, and contextual compatibility within the two hamlets. The parcel where Indus wants to build is in the town's general commercial zone, and town code explicitly says hotels and motels are permitted uses in that zone. So, Indus CEO Jet Mehta said in an interview before the moratorium vote, "We're just trying to get a good project done in the community." Mehta said his team would only develop 2.5 acres of the 3.9 acre parcel and would replant double the number of trees it cuts down, leaving more than an acre of wooded land between the hotel and its closest residential neighbor. Lancaster's previous development moratorium expired recently. The town had halted all new multifamily projects for 16 months from 2024 to 2025 as it worked to update the zoning code. Despite that, Terra Nova said town leaders decided to revisit the regulations for historic hamlets. She said concerns from Bowmansville residents prompted the moratorium. The town has created a commitment to discuss development in its hamlets and propose changes. The local laws say the moratorium will remain in place for up to 12 months. The previous multifamily moratorium was initially set for 12 months, but was eventually expanded. So we'll see how things then work out for Woodspring Suites in Lancaster. Okay, the third article here on commercial real estate from Jacob Turney. New owner, West Seneca. New owner for former Jack Cooper Transport property. A 20.6 acre property in West Seneca has sold for $3.7 million following the bankruptcy of national vehicle hauler Jack Cooper Transport Company. Broad Street Property Holdings LLC, an affiliate of Wayne County-based Verde Storage Containers, purchased 75 Rancier Drive from the trustee established in U.S. bankruptcy court to handle the assets of Jack Cooper Transport, according to records filed with the Erie County Clerk's Office. The property at 75 Rancier Drive is primarily a parking lot, with a 21,000 square foot building. Verde rents and delivers storage containers with locations across New York State. Its Buffalo area location is at 1722 Union Road in West Seneca, about a mile from the Rancier Drive property. Jack Cooper Transport was an automobile hauler headquartered in Kansas City. In 2025, Ford Motor Company terminated its contract with Jack Cooper. GM soon followed. Jack Cooper shut down, laying off thousands of employees nationwide. And finally, Jack Cooper acquired the West Seneca property in 2014 as part of a $135 million acquisition of vehicle hauler Allied Systems. Allied Systems had owned the land since the late 1990s, according to county records. So there you have it, page 4, and that's the last article here on commercial real estate, all written by Jacob Tierney. Okay, next we have on page 5, hotels and hospitality. And there's 2 articles, one of which I'm tickled pink to tell you is what I call a mystery item. Now, mystery items can either be a quote or a number. And in this case, it is a number. It says big number, 400. Okay, who could be talking about the 400? It's not a quote. Okay, 400. It's hotel rooms needed in a new downtown Buffalo full-service convention center. That's the major finding of a new comprehensive tourism market study conducted by consulting firm HVS and commissioned by Visit Buffalo. So they recommended 400 new hotel rooms. Okay. So now we go to Tracy's second article, and this one under hotels and hospitality. Fairfield Inn and Suites goes up for sale. And there's a picture here of the Fairfield Inn and Suites, Buffalo Amherst University, 3880 Wrench Road in Amherst, and it's picture taken at night. And it's not really that dissimilar to the one with Woodspring Suites, I should say. Okay, let's see what we got here. Wrench Road Hotel was opened in 2018 by Ellicott Development. So Tracy Drury writes, the Fairfield Inn and Suites, Buffalo Amherst University, was listed January 22nd with CBRE. Though the listing doesn't show a price tag, the property is assessed at $9 million. The hotel at 3880 Wrench Road was opened in 2018 by the Buffalo-based developer after a 3-year process. It is owned by SH Hotel Group, LLC, an affiliate company of Ellicott Development. According to the listing, the 4-story, 66,760 square foot hotel includes amenities like a pool, a fitness center, a complimentary breakfast area, and a parking lot with 103 spaces. The Fairfield is part of the company's hospitality division, which owns or operates 11 hotels in Western New York, and a growing short-term stay division launched in 2023. Other sites include the 110-room Aloft Buffalo Downtown and the 84-room Wingate by Wyndham, which is set to be converted this year into the Huntley House. The hotel joins several others on the market in the area, including the Quality Inn and Suites at 241st Street in Niagara Falls. The 210-room hotel owned by Tuscarora Nation businessman Joseph Smokin' Joe Anderson was listed in 2025 for $21.5 million. Also for sale is a Super 8 at 7680 Niagara Falls Boulevard in Niagara Falls, which is listed for $5 million. Okay, now the concluding paragraph says, in other local hotel news, Buffalo Lodging Associates LLC is hiring a general manager at 2 of its 50 hotel properties. The first GM post is for the 158-room Hilton Garden Inn, Buffalo Airport on Genesee Street, which recently wrapped up a major renovation. The new leader will replace Ken Burke, who has held the GM post for 21 years. The company is also hiring a general manager at its Sleep Inn Buffalo Amherst site on Innkeepers Lane in Amherst, and that is a 91-room hotel. So there's a lot of news there, hotels and hospitality, a lot of news thanks to Tracy Drury. And my gosh, hard to believe, but that already takes us to page 6. And this is the business of retail. And let's see, just double checking here. These 2 articles are written by Leon Bunny, and one of them is a mystery quote. I can tell you're excited. And now to leave you on the edge of your seat, as in the old cliffhanger movies, I'd just like to remind you that you're listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First, right here on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Oh my. Okay, now let's get back to that mystery quote. Quotable. Here's the quote, but I'm not telling you who it is. Let's try to put some thoughts together after we hear the quote. From that time of opening 4 years ago, now, I think we've grown and gotten stronger within the vision of what we wanted to do. Let's try that one again. And I'm reading it as it's written. From that time of opening, 4 years ago now, I think we've grown and gotten stronger within the vision of what we wanted to do. Okay, let's see, what could that possibly be about? How about this? Michael Punskowski, co-founder of the Monocle on Hurdle Avenue in Buffalo, on how the boutique has evolved. So let's hear Michael's quote again. From that time of opening, 4 years ago now, I think we've grown and gotten stronger within the vision of what we wanted to do. Well, good for you, Michael, and I hope that it's prospering now. The Monocle on Hurdle Avenue in Buffalo. Now, the article on this page, besides that mystery quote, just happens to be Wheatfield, former Summit Park Mall faces potential foreclosure. And there's a picture there of one of the main entrances to the Summit, formerly the Summit Park Mall. Okay, now there's a subheading that says, struggles followed major retailer closures, unfulfilled plans. A former regional mall, a former regional mall property might be heading to foreclosure as the lender claims the mortgage conditions haven't been met. Windsor Private Capital Incorporated, a Toronto-based asset management firm, recently filed a complaint with State Supreme Court in Niagara County that kickstarts the commercial foreclosure of the former Summit Park Mall at 6929 Williams Road in Wheatfield. The complaint, filed January 28th, lists Summit Outlet 4 IP, Zoran Kokov and Joe Doe 1 and 2, intended to be the tenants or occupants, if any, as defendants. Okay, well, that's a mystery right there. I wonder who they really are. Kokov and the plaintiff's attorney at Rupp Fallsgraf LLC did not respond to Business First's request for comment. The complaint said that the Summit Outlet 4 secured a $1.515 million mortgage in August 2019, and that defendants, now here's in a quote, have failed to comply with conditions or of mortgages, bonds, or notes, close quote, by failing to pay or omitting interest or items of principal such as taxes, water rates, insurance premiums, escrow, and or other changes. The principal balance of the mortgage is, as of January 16th, $1.515 million, according to the court filings. The complaint asked the court to decree the amount due to the plaintiff for principal, interest, late fees, costs, prepayment penalties, and reasonable attorney's fees, in quotes, if provided for in said bonds, notes, or mortgage. Wow. Okay, other requests in this complaint. Let's see, there's a number of them. The first, the defendant and all persons claiming through or under them be barred and foreclosed of all right, lien, claim, equity, or interest of redemption in and to the mortgaged premises. Second, that the property may be decreed to be sold and monies from the sale be paid to the plaintiff, the amounts due on the bonds, notes, and mortgages, and other sums such as interest and late charges. Next, if requested, forthwith appoint a receiver of the rents and profits of said premises. Oh my. Okay, Kokov, through his Zorro Investments, bought the Wheatfield Mall over a decade ago for $4.2 million and has gone through multiple steps trying to revitalize the shopping center. In 2014, the Niagara County Industrial Development Agency directors approved $700,000 in incentives for Kokov to move forward with his then proposed $17 million makeover of the property. In 2018, Sears Holding Corp. Confirmed that its Wheatfield location at the Summit, formerly the Summit Park Mall, would close, and Bonton also closed that year. Sears had been an anchor at that site since 1972. That left the mall vacant at the time, reported Niagara Frontier Publications. The property's LoopNet leasing page, which is last updated on February 9th, lists 164,920 square feet of space available for the lease. Oh my, so hard times have certainly fallen on Summit Park Mall. As reported in both of those articles by Leon Bunny. And you know, that brings us, I know you're excited, that brings us to the cover story. And if you recall, I reminded you that this was at Buffalo Place downtown. And there's a two-page spread of the same picture, but adding in the forefront the Gold Dome Bank Gold Dome. And of course, those of you of my vintage remember when that was Buffalo Savings Bank. So it's apparently, I'm going to guess, a drone picture only because of the height and the angle. And it's looking down on the skate rink. So you're seeing past the Gold Dome to the Buffalo Place skate rink. And of course, it's bounded by the Fountain Plaza buildings around it. And there are dozens of skaters. And quite frankly, any number, I'm literally saying hundreds of people, not on the ice, but watching the activities. And let's get to it, but I want to give you a little background on why they do these particular type of articles. And it says here about the series, how far can the region's transformation go and what's holding it back? Buffalo Business First is continuing to look at how the region can capitalize on strengths and address weaknesses, improving both the local economy and quality of life for the people who live here. We ask business leaders and others, key stockholders, what they see Buffalo's potential is and how that potential can be unlocked. And then it mentions in this little blurb, we want to hear from you. So, you, the reader, what must be done to unlock Buffalo's potential? What assets should we utilize? What issues must be addressed? Email Editor-in-Chief Michelle Chioke Adams at mcadams, those are all small letters, mcadams at bizjournals.com. And bizjournals is B-I-Z, bizjournals.com. So that's Michelle Chioke Adams, who is at McAdams at bizjournals.com. And she's inviting your comments. Okay, and then it says more online. Catch up on our past coverage of Western New York at www.bizjournals.com/Buffalo/feature/Buffalo Unlocked. And none of those are capitalized. So we'll get to that article in just a moment. Okay, remember this is by Jacob Tierney, and it says Buffalo Unlocked, Downtown. The case for play. Events and entertainment among the easiest levers to pull as Buffalo looks to rebuild downtown vibrancy. Buffalo's new mayor has little patience for those who bemoan the changes downtown since the pandemic. So Sean Ryan said in a recent interview with Buffalo Business First, people who tell me about how less people come downtown than they did 5 years ago, that's like telling me the steel plant closed. If you're not nimble enough to change your strategy after 5 years, don't come looking to the city for some solution, close quote. City government, however, does have an important role to play in revitalizing downtown Buffalo, and Ryan admits that. A thriving downtown is important to the entire region and its image. And he adds, the government's role should be making sure the infrastructure is good, making sure the streets are plowed in the wintertime, making sure the intersections are marked, making sure the street lights work, making it conducive for a downtown live, work, play environment. And right now, we're failing at that. The reference to live, work, and play is a common refrain in real estate and development circles. They're the three pillars necessary for a thriving neighborhood. Few people live downtown, and where there are efforts to change that, progress is slow. Work has long been the pillar that propped up the downtown economy, but has yet to recover from the hits it took during COVID. That leaves play. Economic development officials and business leaders are counting on a renewed focus of events and activities to bring new energy downtown. Ryan said he recently walked down the block of Main Street occupied by the Shays Performing Arts Center, the heart of downtown theater district. He noticed 5 streetlights were out, which he referred to as a failure. The city needs to work with organizations like Buffalo Place to make the city more inviting and exciting. And Ryan has another quote here. We need to recapture the spirit of downtown. We need to get the vibe going. Okay, now, subheading, new leadership downtown. Ryan isn't the only new leader investing in improving downtown. Buffalo Place is a nonprofit organization funded with special charges levied on downtown property owners and their tax bills. It organizes numerous events, disperses grant funds, and handles much of the day-to-day maintenance along the main downtown corridor. Its 2 longtime leaders, Executive Director Michael Schmand and Board Chair Keith Bellinger, both stepped down last year. Steve Carmina, CEO of Carmina Wood Design, is the newborn president. He said, the influx of new leaders stepping in at the same time presents an opportunity for the city and Buffalo Place to start to work together to shape a more vibrant downtown. And Carmina adds this quote, we're not going to take no for an answer. We're not going to shy away from a challenge. We're not going to be thought of as just the people that water the plants and plow the sidewalks, close quote. Now, Tracy Woodrow became M&T Bank's new regional president of Western New York in July. She, too, has been focused on ways to revitalizing downtown and served in Ryan's transition team. And she says, it's really about not just bringing people in, but what do they do when they come in? We can get people into office buildings, but we're also got to get them out of the office building. Carmina and Woodrow said events can't be the only tool to draw people, but they are relatively cost-effective and quick to implement. Of live, work, and play, play is the easiest pillar to bolster. And Woodrow says, I think that we could be remiss if we only focused on one of these pillars. But certainly the shortest duration is the play piece, because it takes a long time to build an apartment tower, but it's a much shorter period of time to create and host an event. So the next subheading is fun and games. By the way, on this page, which is page 12, there's a picture of the annual New Year's Eve ball drop, and it mentions in the caption, events like the annual New Year's Eve ball drop have the potential to bring people to downtown Buffalo. And just from this picture, looking at the former electric tower and with Gold Dome in the forefront again, there's wall-to-wall people there watching the activity. Okay, KeyBank Center will host several games in the 2026 NCAA men's basketball tournament in March. In June, the arena will host the 2026 NHL Draft and Scouting Combine. Pete Guelli, president of business operations for the Bills and Sabres, said he and the Pegula family have made it a priority to bring more events to the arena. Everything from hockey and lacrosse to concerts and monster truck rallies draw people to Buffalo. Guelli wants KeyBank Center to host 200 events a year. I'll read you that again. Excuse me. Guelli wants KeyBank Center to host 200 events a year. It had 178 in 2025. And here's a quote from him. Guelli says, this constant stream of people going into downtown is going to benefit everybody. But as we look at the arena and we start to talk about this broader strategy, how do we impact that entire area? Close quote. Maximizing the benefit these events have on downtown as a whole will require businesses and local officials working together. Gwelly said he's optimistic that this can happen based on his conversations with local leaders. And he adds this quote, "It feels like you have a group of people that are proponents for Buffalo that actually have the ability to move the needle. And if they're all galvanized in that direction, you're likely to achieve the results that you want." Close quote. This isn't the first time Buffalo has hosted an NCAA tournament or an NHL draft, but local organizations have not done enough in the past to capitalize on these marquee events. Carmina said resources need to be in place to help guide tourists to local businesses. And he added, "We have thousands of people that come to our city that are winging it." Okay. Buffalo Place needs to find ways to collaborate with the Sabres and the Pagulas so that all parties can benefit, he says. Not all downtown events need to be on the scale of March Madness. Buffalo Place has already seen success with its Thursday and Maine summer concert series and its Rotary Rink at Fountain Plaza. Carmina said there's much potential to introduce new events as well. Meanwhile, M&T recently started working with local nonprofits to support and promote downtown events. In 2025, this resulted in 3 new events: Buffalo Fashion Runway's Main Block Party, Go Bike Buffalo's Circles the Square Bike Ride at Lafayette Square, and Pickle Fest Buffalo, a pickleball tournament at Seneca One. The bank is also working to connect various event organizers and other stakeholders to make sure everyone's on the same page. Vibrancy downtown tends to happen in isolated pockets, and Woodrow is looking for ways to bring more success to everyone. And she says, here's a quote, "We were really intentional about bringing together folks who maybe regularly don't talk to each other," she said. Close quote. Ryan said Buffalo should bring back once popular events like the Gus Macker basketball tournament, which left the city in 2014 after more than 20 years. And Ryan says, it was an improvement to downtown I'm sorry, I misread that. Mr. Premier Ryan says it's as important to downtown as Taste of Buffalo. It was a multi-day event that brought thousands of people from all over the area. Other cities have managed to pivot and revitalize their downtown economy post-COVID, and Buffalo needs to find a way to do the same, Ryan said. Events are a key part of that puzzle. And he adds, if there's not events going several days a week downtown, we're not going to bring in new and different customers. We've got to wake up and realize things change. Now we have to change with it. And by the way, our mantra. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from Buffalo Business First on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Now, let's get to the end of this article so we can have it all in one show. Make it work is the next subheading. M&T recently announced most of its employees will soon be required to work from the office a minimum of 4 days a week, up from 3. This means thousands more people downtown an extra day each week. The bank has invested significantly in downtown Buffalo the last few years, shifting some of its suburban offices into the downtown core. And Woodrow says, downtown Buffalo is our home. Main Street is our front yard. Ingrid Micro is relocating its office from Williamsville to the former Highmark building at 257 West Genesee Street, bringing more than 1,000 employees into the city and occupying a large commercial building vacated by Highmark when it moved to Seneca One. However, while some large employers are doubling down on downtown, other companies are heading for the suburbs. Cushman & Wakefield Pyramid Brokerage Company is moving its office from Lafayette Square to Corporate Parkway in Amherst. Law firm Webster Zinal recently moved from Main Street Buffalo to Main Street Williamsville. Pyramid president Robert Schell said there were more numerous reasons for his company's move, but that loitering, fights, and vehicle break-ins near the office were the deciding factor. And here's his quote: "When you have your employees coming to talk to you about safety, that's really where we draw the line." He said he's still rooting for downtown Buffalo. After all, a healthy downtown is good for his real estate business. But he said there's been a lot of talk about how to fix the city's problem without a lot of results. And he says it's difficult putting the talk into action. That's one of the struggles that they have. He's skeptical that a business event schedule will result in more vibrant downtown. And he adds, you can't just hold an event and hope people will come. You have to make it worthwhile. You have to make it convenient, and you have to make it safe. Close quote. According to city crime stats from the last 10 years, crime in the Central Business District is down from pre-pandemic levels. There were 591 reported incidents in 2025 compared to 848 in 2016. Safety, however, remains a hot-button topic of conversation, and Carmina said it's essential that people feel safe when visiting the city. And he adds, we need to have more people on the street. We need to take over the spaces. And I think we've been very fortunate with Buffalo B District Police and Chief Tommy Champion and what he's brought into this, along with his patrolmen, the ability to get feet on Main Street. Odo, U.S. Marketing Director Nicholas Kozinski, has been working downtown since 2020. First at Seneca One, then at Fountain Plaza after a 2023 move. Downtown was practically empty at the height of 2020, and while it's better now, there's a noticeable lack of activity. So Nicholas says the city has not recovered since COVID. I think downtown is very much a ghost town. It doesn't have the density that we need in order to bring the city back to life. Close quote. In the short term, that has benefits for the companies that work downtown. Real estate is cheap and parking is plentiful. Odo acquired 7 floors at Fountain Plaza from the state for $2 as long as it hits employment targets by 2028. It's grown from 175 employees when the deal started and now is up to 425 ahead of schedule. So it's ahead of the schedule to hit its target headcount of 525. Sure, if they're already at 425. In the long term, he said, an unhealthy downtown is bad for everyone. If anybody wants to work in the region, it will lead to brain drain, making it harder for Buffalo communities to survive. And he adds, there's a new administration in place, which I'm excited about. And I think they absolutely have the right mindset to try to fix this problem. Close quote. Events can be beneficial in the short term, he believes, but residual density will be essential to ensuring the long-term health of downtown. And he adds, we need people living here in order to justify building grocery stores or building childcare or building businesses here. Close quote. Buffalo's not going back to the way things were before COVID. Ryan said it's time for stakeholders to stop looking back. And here's his quote to end the article. We are not getting the number of people back from 5 years ago, but economic systems are vibrant and changing, and they're not stagnant. So you have to change with your economic conditions. Close quote from Mayor Ryan. Okay, so that's the cover story. And again, that's the end of my time with Buffalo Business First and you this evening, or this afternoon, whenever you're listening. There'll be I shouldn't say probably, I'll read this to you. Okay? Well, we finished that. We haven't finished the issue, and we finished that story. But you can call 716-821-5555 if you would like to hear some of the commentary in the story from some of those leaders that we mentioned. Douglas Dimitrov, Tracy Woodrow, Mark Glasgow. There's some very interesting articles about or I should say quotes, about getting Buffalo back in the limelight, back in the high life again, as a certain song said back in my day. So it just leaves me just time enough to tell you that you've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the February 27th to March 5th, 2026 issue of Buffalo Business First. And you know, we read from Buffalo Business First every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And you know, another thing you can do, you can go to your computer and enter NFRRS in the browser. And that will bring you to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service website. And believe me, it's a wealth, literally a wealth of articles, newspapers, books, magazines, fiction, nonfiction, you name it, if it can be read, and it's within the bounds of good taste, it's available for you to click on and hear readings by our staff and some of our volunteers. So don't let that go by without taking the chance there. You want to go to your browser and in the search box put NFRRS, or you can put Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Both will take you to our website. And believe me, it's well worth being there. So anyways, your reader has been Fran McNamara. Thank you so very much for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have Time Magazine. At 8 o'clock, we have the New York Times. And following that, at 9 o'clock, we have Discover Magazine. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. Thank you for listening. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another